The PlayStation 4 was incredibly popular last generation, selling over 100 million consoles, which is such a record-breakingly high amount. But now we've been finding ourselves in a very, very strange circumstance, which is that everybody seems incredibly excited about the future of PlayStation, talking about the PS5, the exclusive games, and all the stuff that's coming very, very soon. But nobody can buy it. Right now, everybody wants a PS5. It seems like everywhere you look, they're completely sold out. The hype is just insane. And yet, the problem is that even though Sony wants to sell you a PlayStation 5, they can't keep up. There is just such a crazy shortage that they're trying to make these things as fast as humanly possible, and yet they've still completely run out. So Sony has come up with a solution, and it's a very strange solution, which is the fact that they've decided to make more PlayStation 4s to sell you some sort of PlayStation console while they try and keep up with the PS5 payload. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Now, this is just a very strange circumstance. I want to talk about it, and I want to try and explain this because some people seem to be a bit confused as to what this really means for the PlayStation 5. So let's begin with the news itself. PlayStation 5 shortage has reportedly led to Sony making more PlayStation 4s than initially planned. This strategy is to fill the supply vacuum and keep gamers within the PlayStation ecosystem. Now, basically, there's this Bloomberg report that came out this morning where basically what's happened is the fact that there is just not enough PS4s right now. There's a thing called the chip shortage, which is essentially this issue where there's these little teeny tiny microchips inside of your PlayStation 5 console. These things are incredibly rare to produce. Everybody's trying to get them, which is why this chip shortage has caused all sorts of different issues. In fact, there's less cars, there's less technology across the board. So PlayStation, they have the money, they have the factories, they have the people to construct PlayStation 5s, they're just waiting on these chips. And apparently, the way that you make PlayStation 4s is just a lot easier. So they've decided to make even more PlayStation 4s in the meantime while they wait to create more PlayStation 5s. Going through the article here, they talk about it and says that the older consoles use a less advanced chip. It's simpler to make and provides a budget-friendly alternative to the PlayStation 5. Now, the whole point of this is supply vacuum. So this is something they've talked about. There's this battle that's happening within the console industry that's always sort of waged, which is how do you bring in the casual gamers? Everybody's trying to compete to make sure that people are going to pick your system over the competition. You want to make sure that when somebody walks up to a store shelf, are they going to see an empty PlayStation 5 logo? Right now, probably yes. There's just no systems. So even if you do walk into a Walmart, if there's just the option of an Xbox Series X, a PlayStation 4, or an Xbox Series S, a lot of times people are just going to pick up whatever is going to give them that next gen experience. And I think that Sony is in a very strange circumstance. Now, I'm glad that IGN decided to put this big logo here of different great PlayStation 5 games. This is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, there's Astro's Playroom. Now, what's interesting about this is that even on this logo right here, all of these games are playable on the PlayStation 4 as well, except for Astro. And I feel like this is a great circumstance to prove the fact that as much as everybody's excited about the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 4 still does decent. Like all these games. Sackboy, playable on PS4 or PS5. Bugsnax, playable on PS4 or PS5. Even Pathless, which is a game I absolutely love. Like, it's funny to think about the fact that they're just in a spot where they would rather you buy a PlayStation 4 Pro and have some ability to play these games rather than just buy nothing or buy an Xbox. Now, I want to talk about this because I think that this is such a very uniquely weird circumstance. I'm not sure I've ever seen a time where physically there's so much hype, there's so much money entering the industry, everybody is prepared to buy the PlayStation 5. In fact, I've been talking to a bunch of different subscribers and stuff, and a bunch of people have straight up said, I've saved up, I'm ready to buy a PS5, but I want to wait until I can see it. And I think that's a completely fair circumstance. A lot of these people do not want to just buy one from a crappy scalper. People aren't wanting to go to Facebook Marketplace and hope to meet some strange guy in an alley with $500 and hope they don't get robbed. Like, they're in a circumstance where Sony wants to make these systems, they want to buy these systems, but until they're easy to access in a safe and reliable manner, people are going to have to stick with the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now let's just break down what this actually means in the grander context, which is the fact that I've been looking at some of the leaks and stuff involving Horizon Forbidden West. There's been some gameplay that managed to slip out for the PlayStation 4 version, and to be quite frank, the PS4 Pro version of that game almost looks like a PlayStation 5 game anyways. And I feel like this is starting to highlight a strange fact, which is that really, when you actually look at the graphics, the gameplay, just in general the features, the PS4 Pro is practically a PlayStation 5 anyways. This is going to be a tiny generational gap for at least a bit. Right now, everybody is making games on PlayStation 4 dev kits and then seemingly porting it over to the PlayStation 5, or maybe making it on a PS5 dev kit and figuring out how to downscale it to the last generation. I think Sony is in a spot where they're just trying to accommodate. They just want to find a way for you to play their stuff as big as it is, stuff like God of War Ragnarok, stuff that already has so much marketing and budget and amazing quality in it. They just want to find a way for you to buy it, even if it is on the inferior version of it. Now, real quickly, I want to take a look at this tweet because it seems like some people are a little bit upset. And I find this interesting because there's a little bit of a misconception. So look, what does this solve? People want PlayStation 5s, not PlayStation 4s. The PS4 chips are easier to get. The PlayStation 5 output will remain the same regardless. Now, this is the key point that I feel like a lot of people have been missing, which is the fact that right now, Sony still has those big, gigantic factories cranking out the fastest PlayStation 5s possible. They're still making systems. They're still trying to get every single chip. They're trying to ship stuff to the factories as quickly as they possibly can. I don't think that this is going to hurt the supply chain whatsoever. It's just a way of trying to find a new method, a new path to get you to still buy PlayStation games. And with games like God of War Ragnarok, as I mentioned, Horizon, even games, crazy enough, it's still bonkers to think about this, but even Gran Turismo 7, which originally looked like a PlayStation 5 tech demo, it seems like it was built from the ground up to be a PlayStation 5 game, is now coming to the PlayStation 4. Sony just wants you to buy PlayStation games, and honestly, they don't care how you do it. Hopefully they start offering free upgrades. That's my biggest concern is, if I buy a PlayStation 4 version of a game, make it so that it can become a PlayStation 5 game later down the line. Like cross-generational stuff like this, I feel like would be a good way of basically saying there's no downside to buying a PS4 now. But what do you think about this? Is this just a gigantic mess? Is this something that just concerns you at all? Or are you willing to see what the heck happens and it's all good to you? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a giant thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. I hopefully have this green screen set up properly this time. I guess we're going to find out. Lighting this thing has been difficult. I'll be learning green screen has been fun, but it's been harder than I thought it was going to be.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.